Welcome, everybody, to the most downloaded gig economy podcast in the world. Fact check it yourself, people. This is the podcast 4-year anniversary, and I'm excited to have Gary Middleton joining me. Gary, what's up?
Oh, not a lot. Congrats on 4 years, by the way. I bet you time flew by.
It did, man. And it's actually funny, as I was putting this together for today, I was thinking about like when I started gig work, and I know you were kind of around that same time too, and like all the problems then, Travis leaving and Dara stepping into Uber. And I mean, again, this is pre-food. This is when it was just rideshare.
Right.
And you know, and like all the different craziness that like the drama of Travis, and that it was all going to go away with this Dara guy. And like then really maybe a lot of the drama and like womanizing went away, but it actually started getting so much worse because if nothing else, hate Travis all you want, he actually cared about the drivers on some level.
On some level, he did.
He wanted to get it to make money, so people could claim, yeah, those were the early days. He had to do that. And again, I still think on some level, because there's videos out there that show otherwise too, but on some level, I believe he cared more than any single other person that's been in charge of a rideshare for the drivers.
Right. So, okay. So, real quick, I did go ahead and fact check Steve real quick on his most downloaded, what do you say? Downloaded gig economy podcast in the world. Do you want to know what the AI answer says?
Does it say rideshare guy?
Nope. It's not even him. It actually says our good friend Jason. The gig economy podcast is the top gig economy podcast in 2024. Second up to that is the Rideshare Rodeo podcast, featuring news, interviews, and stories from.
I know Jason's does well, but Jason and I have actually had Chat GPT, because guess what? You're wrong. Jason, who runs that, and myself have had this conversation.
That's actually Google's AI that said that.
Oh, because I was going to say, because Jason's even said, dude, you're crushing me somehow. I mean, like, dude, and again, it's you know, Jason's been doing this for a long time, and that's a plug to him too, who's been a very big supporter of this. Like, go check out his podcast, please.
Check out both. Yeah, there's no reason why you can't.
Especially the audio stuff, because that's somewhere where Jason and I both intersect, and we both have done that. Not many of the YouTube and other channels that do other types of media, but on that scale, like I know that, you know, I'm averaging, you know, 3,000 downloads to plus a week. And I know that's, I mean,
is that good in the podcast world? Again, I'm not familiar.
Oh yeah. In this space, I mean, I'll tell you this, Gary. So Good Pods does a ranking thing. I had never been in it. You know, I've been to a couple of these podcast movements and stuff.
Right.
And I had never been in it. I've talked to the Good Pods people, that you have to be in the top 5%, or the top, there's 2 tiers, the top 20% and the top 5%. The top, those represent all podcasts, whether it be true crime, gig economy, financial, it doesn't matter. They're not broke down into genres. I'm in the top 5% of downloaded podcasts globally. I'm in the 5% with Joe Rogan.
That's what I'm saying. Is that the same rankings that Joe Rogan's in?
Yes. But again, you got to remember here's the thing, guys. Like, this isn't bragging. There's a lot of podcasts out there that don't follow consistency, drop when they want, don't have a lot of following. Right. They fall off after they launch. So all those get marked in too. You know, just like I can tell you this, like if you go look up podcasts, you can find a podcast. Like one of the first things when you're trying to see if you're really interested in a podcast is make sure that they have dropped one in the last month. Because a lot of these you might even see 3-4 years ago was their last one they did.
Right.
But they're still up on these platforms.
Well, it's kind of like YouTube. When you do a search on YouTube and you like, if you need information wise, always go to your sort order and do it by upload date. Because for whatever reason, you could drop, you know, how to make money with Uber. You could search that and it's going to bring up something 5 years ago. That is not relevant to today.
See, the other thing is when you ask Chat Well, you asked Google. Is it Google GPT?
No,
What
it's
is it?
it's I think it's what is it? Google Genesis or something
Okay.
like that. Or I
Because
forget the
you
name
said
that
you
they.
said the most popular gig economy podcast. What about the most? Because again, that's what mine is, but mine's called Rideshare Rodeo.
Yeah,
So I wonder if I show
put
as the top rideshare when really I might not be the top rideshare.
what I looked at is I put, this is my search term, said most downloaded gig economy podcast in the world.
Yeah, see, I probably don't fall into there. I mean, I'm surprised I even fell as second.
Yeah, you did. And
My point is,
this is according. Do you know who Player FM is?
Yeah.
Okay, that's according to their stats.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not a highly used one. I mean, I would go by Good Pods or Spotify or Apple's data primarily. And for those of you that don't know,
actually, this says Player FM and Apple Podcast.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I
So
mean, it's probably
those
because
two.
you called it gig economy podcast.
It could have been, but I mean,
think
I
it is.
don't know,
But again, like if you put in,
I just wanted to
rideshare-
break you on that.
No, I honestly think it's great that I showed up second, even because that means I have enough episodes with gig economy podcast in the title or something that's making me get gathered into that too. Because again, it's not like guys, when you're doing a podcast, it says check what you are, and there's one that says gig economy.
Yeah, you want to know who's third on this list, and we haven't actually seen him in a while. The was it the Gig 2 podcast? That's Chad's, right?
See, I already know for a fact that this is just bogus results, and no offense to Chad at all. I just know. I mean, because that's got to be bogus. Because he only did the audio podcast.
He does
for a
beer.
short time.
He does beer now. He does beer reviews now.
Right, but even when he was doing YouTube and stuff,
Yeah.
he wasn't doing audio podcasts the whole time. He only did that for about a year and then stopped. So something's wrong with this.
Right, and then the Gig podcast comes in number 4. I've never heard of them. It says this is a podcast from the Wage Indicator Foundation that discusses global issues in the gig economy. Never heard of that Wage Indicator Foundation.
I'm wondering about this whole damn result.
Hey, it's AI,
Because
man.
here's what I can say. Again, congratulations to Jason, because I mean I do know Jason's numbers too, and he does very well. But when I told him that I had hit that mark with Good Pods, like he's not in that mark. I mean, maybe they go back as far as he's done it, because he has done it 3 years longer than me, the audio podcast. So Jason should be coming up on his 7th year anniversary here.
Oh, wow. Wow. He's been around long.
So that
time.
is something for sure. I mean, Jason, for those of you that have not listened to Gig Economy Podcast and who listen to audio podcasts, do check it out. I try and plug him whenever I think about it. So absolutely do, because he's probably been around the longest, because the rideshare guys stopped. They do Show Me the Money Club now, but they don't do Harry doesn't do the Rideshare Guy podcast anymore.
Right. Now, I did go ahead and pull up FeedSpot. You ever heard of them?
Nope.
Okay, FeedSpot ranks you as number 1. Ranks the Gig 2 podcast is number 2. Rockin' Your Marketplace is number 3. And My Gigsters Rideshare and Delivery Gig Workers Weekly is number 4. And we're going to have to talk to Jason, because he's not even in the top 11.
Right. So he's number 1 on this chart, but he's not even on this chart.
Now, he does show up, but he's not in the top. It says here that he only has 26 episodes with Feeds. I don't know what FeedSpot is. I'm guessing it's a podcast database, because that's what it's showing here.
So usually, you know how it works, Gary, being a programmer. We all have an RSS feed.
Right.
And that even again, I went to Jason for this. I was talking to Jason about like, hey man, can I change my RSS feed? Because it actually is Uber Lyft drivers and it should be Rideshare Rodeo. And he said, don't, because it's going to screw up everything for you. And so, so I've always kept it, but that's how those pick it up. Eventually, my guess is that somebody was using FeedSpot or whatever it is as their player too. And if you can't find a podcast that you like to listen to on any podcast player, you can submit that podcast RSS feed to there. It takes about 2 to 3 days and it'll start pulling in their episodes. but
so
it doesn't
that's probably what
backlog them. It
was.
won't bring them
Yeah.
all in.
Now, I believe you use at one time. You told me that you used a service that just spread it out to everywhere, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, Jason does too. I think Jason used to
Okay.
use Cisco. Now he uses maybe Blueberry. I'm not sure who he's with now, but I've been with Podbean since the beginning.
Yeah, I know you're with Podbean.
And from there, I do all my distribution. So, but then I have gone in and manually entered. That's why I always tell people, if you can find me on any, or if you go to any pod player there is and you can't find me, let me know. I'll get it on there immediately.
But
And
either
so
way,
I'm
I
always
just wanted,
find
I
myself on
just
that one of
wanted to
them.
bust your balls.
Yeah, man, at least it wasn't like some, if there's gonna be a chart that says there's one bigger and it's Jason, I'd rather be Jason, to be honest.
Right.
But again, I'd like to know why they all get different metrics too. Because I can tell you this, that when I go to, I've mentioned one, but I won't say exactly because people might have difference of opinions on this, but I've been to a couple now of the podcast, the big global conventions.
Right.
And I can say that there's two companies that you can trust, and we have not talked about them on where the information comes from. And so that's really what it is. I don't know where the others get their information from, but obviously we can see they're not even at all synced up. So, but yeah, shout out to Jason. I also have to say, and then we're going to jump in here, but I also have to say that Jason was a big help of getting me started with this. Like, I was doing the website for years, and then I was going to start January 2020. And then I was just so damn busy. And then in March, the pandemic started, and it was a month later, I started this finally.
Now, shout out to Jason again. I believe he actually has a business though that he helps set people up with podcasts, right?
Oh, he does. Yeah.
Yeah. I forget. I know I get it somewhere, but I forget the name of it. But
well, I asked him last week if I should plug it when he was on the round table, and he was like, "No." Like, really? Like, why not, dude? Because the reason I wanted to plug it last week was because I feel like a lot of people I've talked to on YouTube or whatever are interested in looking at audio podcasting.
Right.
And I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure we should promote this.
Yeah,
and he was like, nah.
maybe he's already got enough people that he's kind of worked up right now. So
maybe
because I know it's just he's a one man show, or him and
well, it was him and Jesper.
That's what I'm saying. Did Jesper stay around though? Because I know Jesper went back and started another company.
But now it's him and Larry. And Larry Duncan, it's Lifting with Larry, he's an awesome guy. I've had him on my podcast.
No, I'm not talking about on the YouTube podcast. I'm saying for the company part of it where he helps other people though.
Oh, hey, and it's I'm going to plug it anyway.
Hey
Guys Media.
It is. That's what it is. Hey Guys Media.
Even though he didn't want me to last week, he's not here today, so I can plug it. So if you guys want to go find Hey Guys Media, what it does is actually Jason has different programs where he can set up your podcast and actually get you all set up, and then he can either do the uploading and the cleaning of it, or he can teach you. There's so many different plans that you can do, from like ranging in numbers from I'm just guessing 200 to 2,000 plus. I don't know. It depends on what you're looking to do. If you want him to run, it's gonna be a lot different. But basically, he can get you all set up. He can show you and create a template for you, and say, this is all you got to do now. You're all set up. You're dialed. Or he can run it. So, I mean, they offer a ton of services. So if anybody out there has ever, because that's not something I do. So if you guys have ever wanted to start a podcast, check out Hey Guys Media. Sorry, Jason, I just had to plug it.
If anything, he can probably give you a consultation for a small fee and help you out there. And Jason, if you listen to this and you start making a lot of money off of it, we do want to cut.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And I can actually say that Jason does I don't know how long it is, but he does a free consultation.
Right.
So he will give you a consultation. I don't know. I mean, it's probably brief. And if you want to go beyond that, he'd charge you. I can't speak on any of his prices, but that is, I mean, if I wanted to start one, that's where I would go, because I know him and I trust the guy. So
exactly.
But let's move into this Minnesota thing, because, man, I'm getting so sick of these. And I know that I picked a couple things based on you being here, Gary, because I know you and I are both sick of this crap. Like, quit putting threats out there that are never going to happen. I mean, again, here we are, and it's like May 1st. Well, May 1st is Wednesday, and now it's July 1st. So now they have till July 1st because they were really going to leave. And they said, well, wait a minute.
Well, the city said, wait a minute, though, not Uber and Lyft.
Right. But so here's the problem we're looking at now. So I'm just going to break down some of these. So let's see. State negotiators have made progress towards keeping Uber and Lyft in the Twin Cities, but one friction point remains: whether Minneapolis should still be able to set its own driver pay rules. Why it matters: both rideshare companies have threatened to stop or limit service in the metro over mandated pay ordinances that will take effect on July 1st. So state intervention won't matter if Uber, Lyft lawmakers and drivers can't agree on whether Minnesota should override the city's driver pay increase. And then state of play is where to set minimum pay rates for rideshare drivers is the big question. But then you get down to the friction points, and it's like, even if negotiators do agree on a state level pay rate, the thorny issue of whether that should preempt Minneapolis's ordinances looms as a possible deal breaker on top of the other 10 deal breakers. And that's kind of where it gets a little dicey for me, because if you remember last year, they shot this down, and it was Governor Walz that had to step in and say, nope, I'm using my first veto in my career. Nope, we're not doing this. But he did say we're going to have a committee look into this and research what the pay rate should be. Well, they did that, and they're asking for whatever it comes out to, $1.92 with the per minute and per mile rate is what Minneapolis passed in his law. But now it's the committee found that it should only be around $1.47. So not Uber, but Lyft actually offered to do that. Okay, we'll meet you there. We'll do that. And they said no, and still passed the ordinance as it was. So my point was, okay, you got vetoed. The guy said, yeah, I'm going to veto it, but I'm going to give a committee the right to do this and do the investigation. I'm not a big fan of these anyway. I don't think that, even if Uber and Lyft said, fine, we'll do this, I'm not a big fan. I think this is the downhill of rideshare if things like this continue, because it'll never keep pace with the cost of living. And you will be locked in at these shitty rates forever.
Well, here's my problem with it. Even with the calculations, like I don't get how they get some of their calculations. I'm reading here that they say $1.40 per mile, which, I mean, that's great for short trips, but when you add on 90 cents a minute on top of that, like, where do they get $15 an hour? Yeah,
I don't know. And actually,
if you take 89 cents a minute and multiply that times 60, that's $53 an hour.
Well, it says, realize they're talking about the whole state. So the Twin Cities would probably be at that higher end, the $1.21 per mile. I don't know if you saw that, but they're saying the state analysis says between 89 cents and $1.21 per mile. So, but again, like probably 80% of the population of Minnesota lives in the Twin Cities.
Okay,
so.
I think I might have misread that then, because I read it as 89 cents a minute and $1.21 a mile.
Oh no, yeah, they're just talking about
the
rate.
89 cents per mile through $1.21 per mile.
So like rural.
Okay, so what's the per minute rate going to be?
Because it's like 49 or 59 cents.
Right. So so let's take
that. Wait. Proposal, the one again, it wouldn't apply to the 89 cents rural, but for Minneapolis and for the Twin Cities, I think it's 69 cents actually.
Okay, that's still $40.
That's my point. $1.20. That is it. $1. Yeah. Yes, $1.21 and 69 cents.
Okay, just off the 69 cents a minute, if you did a ride for an hour, that's $40 an hour. Well, roughly. I know somebody's going to come back and say, "No, I did the math, and that's not right." So.
Well, look, at $1.21,
so $41.40 an hour,
$1.21 a mile, just to keep it easy, and at 69 cents per minute. What is that? If you're doing 60 miles on the highway, that's $1.90 per minute, because you'll be doing a mile a minute. Right, that'd be $1.90. So let's call it, just for a second. Let's call it
$114.
Right, just okay. So
no, that's exactly. If you do what you just said, if you do it 60 miles.
And you need a 60-mile trip to the airport,
Right.
which is a lot of people have to do that,
$114 an hour
is what the driver will be paid.
Right. So
now,
how much are they charging customers?
They're going to charge the customer.
That's what I was getting around
like
to.
$4,000 ride.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I mean, it's going to be at least $500 or $400, at least $400.
Well, I'd say at least $253. Because
making less, that would show that they're not.
Well, no, because like on average, I believe most people make between 50 and 70% of the actual rides, what drivers make. So let's say if drivers making 50%, that's $230.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they pay now. So, I mean, but my guess is that's a huge jump.
Well, see, like I'm not so concerned with the $1.21 per mile. I'm not so concerned with that because in my area here, I'm in a very tourist city, so our rates are over $1 a mile for rideshare currently. But our wait time is like 10 cents a minute.
See, and the other thing is going to become, and this too, we've seen this everywhere that tries to pass this stuff. You're not going to be busy every minute of every hour for hours on end.
Well, no, you're not. Like if I went out and drove full time, like I haven't actually done full time rideshare in a long time, but if I drove full time rideshare and I accepted all the rides, so that way neither company put me on a silent pause, I could probably stay busy 40 minutes out of an hour.
Right. Well, but you're talking about in your market that's good right now.
Right.
I'm talking about in this market after this post pricing. Like good.
Oh yeah, after this post pricing, no, a lot of people are going to start walking. They'll ride bikes, scooters.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be maybe lucky to get 30% of an hour.
Does Minneapolis, do they have like Bird or Lime scooters or anything like that?
I'm sure they do, but they also, they also have, like we do, very crazy weather.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of times that's not going to be. My point is, like here in Denver, what is it? The X rate for Uber's gone so down. I know it's flat now, it's up front, but it was like 59 cents a minute or a mile and 20 cents a minute. Rural Minnesota is going to get 89 cents a mile.
So
they're going to get 30 cents more than I would here in the metro.
Well, and what's going to happen with that, right? Same thing that's happening currently in New Jersey and all that. They're going to drive to New York City. So whoever's, out in the rural areas, they're going to drive to the city. Why would you?
Or why would you not work the rural area if there's going to be business? Now you're going to get, I'm sure 89 is going probably up from 49.
My favorite statement here, though, is that Gold declined to share Uber's target rate, which means that it was lower than Lyft's. But because Lyft said that they would do 89 cents per mile.
Yeah, I don't know. It's great. Yeah, I was looking at there's a lot of funny stuff, and as always, all of these articles used today, I'll put them all in the show notes for everybody listening. So, but Governor Walz even stepped in, and his quote's funny too. Wants any legislation to be based on the data that the study provided. Well, that's what Lyft offered to do. They said, well, fine, we'll do that. And then the city council said no. So yet the city council says we're still working with them. No, you're not. You told them no.
That's not. What do you think the city council really wants out of this? Do you really think that they just want them higher per miles rates?
I always get thrown off by what the motives really are behind this stuff. I do know something that's a very scary fact, that there is only 39 taxi licenses in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Dude, that's crazy to me. So there's only 39. Like, to me, it's like, forget all this, go get a taxi license. Just become a freelance cab driver.
I do remember that they were gonna, and I think this is one of the reasons why they're pushing this off until July. Is I don't know if you read this, but they actually offered new companies a stipend to come in and start a rideshare company there.
Yeah.
you know, and I think it was like $100,000 or something like that.
Well, it's 119 for Minneapolis, and then what is it, St. Paul, or 100? No, it was more on the other side. It was 119 for St. Paul, and it was like 108 for Minneapolis. So that's 230. Basically, the way that it all broke down was to start a rideshare company, even just to get it started. And this isn't even operating capital, which we know they all need to do.
Right.
But just to get it started was like $900,000.
Yeah, it's expensive,
and that's just for one city. That's not even the damn state.
Yeah,
that's just to go to Minneapolis. It's gonna be like $1 million, and then you need maybe that doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of you thinking, well, rideshare. But remember, you're only working with the revenue of that one city too. So $1 million's a lot.
Well, and here's the thing is, you know, they said this is why I think that they pushed it off till July, is because they thought that they would have more people interested in doing this. And then they're like, well, you know, all these companies probably came in and be like, you know, it's going to take 6 months at least 6 months to start a rideshare company, get it running smoothly, get drivers onboarded, you know, get some type of financial backing.
And I mean, so I know Move was looking. It seems like, and I'm not trying to. Luckily, like Trip isn't around or anything anymore. But like Move was looking into going there, and Move is only in Africa. And some of these other startups that they're like, well, we got all these startups. I looked at the list of names, and the players just aren't a threat. Like to me, I'd be like, so what if they come here? Again, we have the model of Austin. We have the model of Austin to look at.
Like, do you really think that it's such a big market for Uber and Lyft that they wouldn't pull out? Like, I can't see it being that huge of a market impact for Uber and Lyft. Yeah, they'll probably lose a little bit.
I don't even know if of the biggest markets they wouldn't pull out at this point if it comes to this kind of thing. If you don't, you literally every single city in the country the next day will be filing the same.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. At some point you got to draw a line. Like that's one thing I do like about Uber. You know, wherever I believe it was Austin, because they came out to Ride Austin after that. Austin's tried to pass a whole bunch of ridiculous stuff, and Uber's like, see ya. They left.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, but they shut down the app.
I'm looking at it right here.
Yeah, it did not work there. And
they actually, it was longer than most people think too. It was a year.
Yeah.
They were gone for a year, and then the city begged them back, basically kicked them out by pushing fees, and then got on their knees and prayed that they come back.
Well, because here's what Austin thought. Austin, you know, they launched that Ride Austin app, which is a free app. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a what do we call it? Non-for-profit company.
Right.
And it's actually full source code. I actually have their source code on my computer because they released the source code to everybody.
Right.
And
it's like a co-op.
Yeah. And so they thought that would sustain the city. And then after a year of struggling, they're like, wait, this ain't happening for us. We need Uber and Lyft back.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, I mean, how sad is that when you have to go back to them? But again, to the people who say, well, they'll never leave. Maybe you're forgetting what Gary just said. They already did.
Yeah.
Austin threatened them and they said later.
Yeah. And I think that's what they need to do here too. They just need to go in there and tell these city lawmakers, you know what? That's fine. We're leaving. You guys figure it out. Mm-hmm. And within a year, they would be calling Uber and Lyft back.
See, part of me, before we move on to this next thing, I guess part of me has to wonder, and this has been kind of a little bit different of a thought for me lately, is are some of these hard, and again, I'm not taking a political position on this, I'm just saying, are some of these hard, extreme left places like Minneapolis, are they pushing this to see, like when Gary and I are talking about drivers would only be optimized 25-30% of an hour once the rates jump that much, and all of the, you know, customers just aren't using it as much and finding other options. Like, are they trying to make it so that Uber and Lyft aren't so oversaturated in the city where they think, okay, over a year, this will self-correct and all these people getting 25-30% will be getting 100 because 2/3 of them will drop off? Because that's not a good way to think.
Well, no, that's definitely not a good way to think. I mean,
I'm starting to wonder if that's what some of these cities
look think. At New York City though right now.
I know
drivers can't go online. They thought, oh yeah, we're getting a guaranteed wage. We're getting this. We're getting that. And now I actually get reports from people that use Maximo. They're like, hey, I can't go online with Uber or Lyft, and I'm like, well, what's the error? And, I try to troubleshoot everybody's app, whether it's mine or Uber's or Lyft. If you're a user of mine, I try to help you out.
Mhm.
And so then they're sending me these screenshots, and it's telling them plain and day, it's not busy enough now. Try again later.
Yeah. Right. Well, I've even heard,
and a lot of these drivers, they don't even know that these new laws took place because they don't follow the law. They just drive. And then they're like, oh, crap.
Well, I mean, and then you have like the DoorDash people who have just been destroyed by the New York legislation. And I've talked to some of them firsthand who I'm like, well, what can you do? And I'm trying to actually understand this. And they're telling me about how like the tier system broke there and like how it's just so crazy. I'm like, well, what can you do then? They're like, what I can do at this point is I can schedule only. Like that's where I'm at too. But then if it's not busy enough, they'll say, sorry, we're not busy enough, even on your scheduled.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I'm seeing it too. Like I got Dashers. Use the driver's utility helper app. They're sending me the same screenshots. I got one other day. Let me see. I'll pull it up here somewhere.
But yeah, I mean, that's nuts. I mean,
it says this is what the error says. This time slot is no longer available. To schedule another dash, visit the schedule tab to see all available slots. Even though they were already scheduled.
Right. That's the point, dude. Like, I mean, I guess my point is, just take away the scheduling then and let people open the app. And when you need them, let it be a dash now.
Yeah, but they can't do that because they have that minimum earnings guarantee.
Right. But I'm saying like, at least just tell people like, don't let them schedule and then find out they're not needed.
Yeah. Just take away the schedule altogether and just have
away
dash
the schedule
now.
and say, just open the app. And if we need you, it'll say dash now.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I don't like what they're doing, so I don't think that's a good solution. I just think it's way better than letting people.
I think it's better than
okay. At least I got 4 hours.
Right,
I'm going to make some money.
That's what I'm thinking too. Is at least you're not getting people's hopes up that they're scheduled. They got 4 hour block. Somebody scheduled 3:30, and they're scheduled at 4, and then at 4 o'clock you're not busy enough. Let's drop this person. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody is okay with that. So
no. So anyway, I'm super interested to see how it turns out. My guess is, they pushed a date back already. We've seen this. My guess is that Uber and Lyft are just standing strong. Like, dude, we were going to leave Wednesday, but you gave us another 2 months. Great.
Yeah.
Like at this point, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll agree on something, but if they don't, it's not going to. I don't think they'll fold. Is my point.
I don't think so either.
Like, I think that if nothing changes, if no negotiations are made before July 1st, and if they stick to that date, I think they will leave. No joke.
So prepare yourself if you're in Minneapolis.
And they delayed it. They say that the communications are getting better, but I mean, we've seen that they're really not. But
or better yet, the week before, when we say June 1st,
July 1st.
Or July 1st.
They gave him 2 more months.
Okay, so and this podcast drops on Thursdays?
Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday. Dang, I'm way off on this too. So June 25th, make sure you turn into that podcast episode on here because I'm sure Steve's going to have a lot to say about the following week.
Oh, yeah. And even the next week after that should even be more exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, because that should be like, well, what was the fallout? So, again, if it comes to the point where if at that podcast though there's no negotiation, and if they don't move that date farther up, I'm guessing it's just going to be done.
Yeah.
But moving to this Vegas thing, I am really, again, we've known about this for a while. They were trying to play this story up as ghost kitchens at first, and now they're coming up with, I've seen a couple of different terms for it, but they're basically saying that it's like a portal that's been open on Uber Eats for a while. And restaurants are running out of other restaurants that exist, but the restaurants that the existing restaurants are selling food as are like 4- and 5-star restaurants that have told Uber time and time again, we will not work with you. We're not going to do business with you. Don't
They're
come to
they're
our
high-end
restaurant.
restaurants. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but they're being sold through these other restaurants illegally for years. This is not for months. They already know for years. They've been tracking this. And so there's now over 1,000 restaurants involved in this. It started off with 5. There's now over 1,000 involved saying that they've had the same thing happen to them. So they are filing racketeering, fraud, scam, even civil RICO.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Dude, if they're filing a RICO case in the gig economy, look out.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we all know, dude, like somebody made a comment on a video I made and it was like very short, but it made total sense to me. Like a lot of times the comments are, yeah, what will that really do or whatever. This comment was so bold and it stood out to me because it says, damn, RICO has teeth. Yeah, it does. And RICO's no joke. Like they'll make a decision and it will apply to everybody. You know,
and,
be like,
and this is only on Uber Eats too. Imagine how many ghost kitchens
that's the part about RICO.
Or
who cares if it's just Uber Eats?
Yeah,
that's where they have the best evidence, is my guess. And they're going to get that RICO case, and then it won't matter. It'll apply to Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, everybody.
Well, I remember we talked about this on the Rodeo.
I guess in this case, I should refine that and say it would only apply to food delivery platforms.
Right.
But
now we talked about this on the Rodeo Roundtable and the ghost kitchens and things like that. You know, it's not hard to set up with these companies as a restaurant. They don't require any real proof that you're a restaurant except for a business license. I have
in this case, they don't even ask. I was reading. I mean, I have a bunch of articles on this. They're not even they said that they weren't even requesting business licenses.
Yeah, well, I actually have a restaurant.
That's what the law firm is called, Bighorn or something. Bighorn Law, which is very well known there, and I guess they're like huge. Of course they would be, but so they basically Uber. They've been saying that they call them imposter restaurants. That's their new term.
Yeah. Well, because they're still in the names of the more popular restaurants, the high end restaurants. Right. But remember when we did the episode about the ghost kitchens on DoorDash and stuff on the roundtable. Mm-hmm. I actually went on and created a kitchen through DoorDash, and it took me like, I don't know, 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, there was people. I mean, there was people selling Tortino's pizzas.
Oh, remember the one out of the apartment complex?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I should be doing that. You probably make more on that than you would on doing the gig work.
You probably would.
Just be like, yeah, I'm a pizza kitchen.
Yeah. And give yourself a fancy name. Copy some images.
Chuck E. Cheese is called Pasquale's or whatever.
Yeah. No, I heard that on Thursday.
I mean, that even sounds Italian. And I said it on Thursday, we all know that none of us want to eat Chuck E. Cheese pizza.
So here's the thing. Yeah, I would definitely don't. They're asking for $15,000 in damages per restaurant.
Right.
That's $15 million. Why don't Uber just settle?
That would look real good.
Sorry, I'm just saying they already admitted fault though, right here in the next line. And the next thing says, this is direct quote from Uber Eats with Channel 13. They said small businesses are the backbone of Uber Eats, and the conduct here is completely unacceptable to us, our customers, and most importantly, the impacted restaurants. So they already admitted fault by allowing it. So like they're just going to let themselves be sued into a RICO case? Come on.
Yeah, but if you go down a little farther, it says we've also temporarily paused onboarding for any new virtual restaurants while we carry out a review of all restaurants. So I think they're playing the angle of we didn't know these imposters were imposters.
Well, that's their fault though. They should know who's signing up with their platform.
Dude, I also think, why the hell are you not required to give a business license? Photo of we have to send a photo of our car in and take a picture. and facial recognition just to work the damn platform. But you guys don't even need to prove you're a business.
Here's the thing, with their payment platform, Stripe, right?
Yeah.
I have to do all that. I have to send in my business license, everything to prove I'm a real business with Stripe.
That's my point, dude. I mean, like, clearly,
so why doesn't Uber Eats and DoorDash and Grubhub require that information? Be like, hey, we need all your state documents and your federal documents that show you are registered as a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, you're also saying though, like, why wouldn't they just settle? I was just looking at this. So, do the 1,000 times 15,000, like you said, and just
15
pay it.
million. It's 15 million.
But that's the restaurants in damages. What about, so if you go up that little bit, it says that Uber, and it could be more too, who knows, but as they look into this, Uber itself has for years been benefiting from 30% of every order taken on every one. So all of that backlogging would be done too. The restaurants are just entitled to that damages.
Well, it's very true. But
what about when they go 3 years back and find for 3 years they've been taking 30% of all this other money too?
Well, I mean, they're going to have to settle at some point, because first off, we know very rare does Uber not settle. Very rare.
But again, how far along is the RICO? Because you can't. Again, I don't know if I cannot find if it's just a threat. One thing that I do know about RICO, once it's starting, there are no deals, there are no settlements. Once they've started an actual RICO investigation, it goes till it's over.
Well, this just said that it filed, not that it's active.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my point is knowing what they know now, and that the fact that they're releasing this, saying that we've known for years they've been doing this. Well, they finally have enough evidence. So, I mean, how long does it take for RICO to get started?
I don't know.
My guess is by next week, you'll start saying, like, RICO's in. Like, I mean, because they're going to look into this so deep. And it's like, again, there's a phone number on the damn article. If you feel you have been victimized, you can reach out.
Okay, it says here that for a civil RICO case can take up to a year for them to decide.
Right. I guess a lot of it depends on the amount of evidence. My guess is they have a lot of evidence.
Well, the right thing is they got to weed through all this, and I'm sure at some point they're going to be subpoenaing Uber for, hey, we need anything pertain to these restaurants, or any other ghost kitchens, etc.
Well, there was another story too that I do need to tell you, because the reason I even got turned on to this was about a week ago. There was a lady who owned one of the restaurants that would not participate with Uber. She said she'd even had like reps come in, which I didn't even know they had. I thought it was all just
you thought it was
annoying
just
phone calls. What's that?
Oh, you just thought it was like sign up and phone calls?
Well, I mean, they don't even take your business license, so I didn't know there were actual people coming in.
Oh, I would assume they would.
But she's told them, no, I've told you, stay away, no. But she then found out, she was the one that like whistle blew, and then found out all this had been already being looked at. But she went in and whistle blew because she knew there was a location in Henderson that was selling 4 restaurants stuff on their menu, and she knew the owner of that restaurant, and they were using her name.
Oh.
So they weren't even using other businesses' names. They were the one. She was told by a friend, hey, I had your food the other night. It wasn't as good as it normally is. I'm really, really surprised. And she's like, we're not on Uber. And he's like, well, check, you are on Uber.
Oh, you know what I just thought of? Uber is the new mafia, bro. They just like, we're taking 30% whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
That's like, do you think the reps were goons coming in there?
Right. And I mean, and to Gary's point, if you're thinking, no, dude, that's a little, he's overreaching. Well, then why is the word RICO being used? Which also only comes into mafia.
Well, because I mean, if you think about it, okay, they're forcing themselves on your business, even though you tell them no. They still send people in there to get the food. They use a black card or red card or purple card or whatever company it is, So I mean, whether you like it or not, they're still taking your business.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I think that you're right. Under some form, there will be a settlement, but the fact they've even used the word RICO and 1,000 businesses, we've seen little catches before, but this seems pretty over the top. I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch how they get out of this if they do.
My biggest thing is it'll be interesting to see how much they pay. It's not that they're going to get out of it, because they're not going to get out of it. They already admitted fault. They said, hey, and if this happened to you, give us a call as well, and we'll make it right or whatever. But they're going to pay something. I'm curious how much they're going to pay.
Yeah. Or they're just going to claim complete ignorance and be like, listen, we were just stupid to leave that portal open. We didn't know people were doing this.
Yeah, right. Don't put me on that jury.
Right, dude. Good. And that's the other thing. Good luck finding a jury. Because everybody's used the platform and probably feels robbed as it is. So like,
good luck finding an unbiased jury.
Right. Have you ever used Uber? Of course I have. I've been robbed by them many times. Okay, you're dismissed. Like, we can't use you. But then we have to move into this one at least for a minute here, because I'm actually glad of this. I see it here because we're a migrant city. I know that even non-migrant cities, like I was even texting with Hannibal today. He's been in a migrant city the longest at New York. But like here, we're starting to see some of that fallout too. Like we have so many people here, and things that they were doing, even the gig apps and stuff they were getting on, aren't working out as much. We're seeing a lot more violence, theft, a lot of criminal behavior that at first wasn't coming out of these migrant situations. And again, remember, this is a sanctuary city. We're like one of 7 actual declared ones in the country. So it's not like I'm talking about anywhere USA. The sanctuary cities are some of the worst. Like we even want to start the lawmakers that said, yeah, let's do this, are now saying, what the hell have we done?
And we're talking about Denver here.
Yeah. But I mean, but now this, we're not talking about Denver. We're talking about 3 senators last week who are now joined by 2 more, and they're getting like across the aisle. It's going to be bipartisan now. They want complete probes into Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub for whatever reason.
And this is it. Now we're moving to Washington, is where these senators are at, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they're not just state. They're the ones in Washington, but so it's, you got the Tennessee rep, the Indiana, North Carolina. But they're talking about the migrants hijack. I mean, some of the wording they've used in some of these articles I've read is pretty spot on to the wording we use as gig workers. I'm pretty surprised they're so up to speed on some of this stuff, like migrants hijacking food delivery service programs. I've read this is just one article that we're looking at now, but I've seen so many coming out lately. But they're talking about the dangers to Americans is real, that these people are coming up to your door. They've had no background check. There's a lot more than that too. They have no background check. It's not their name on the account. And as we just saw about a month ago around tax time, people were getting tax forms. And I always worried about this, saying you made $30,000 on DoorDash last year. The guy was saying, I never worked DoorDash a day in my life. What are you talking about?
And now he's on the hook for the IRS for that.
Well, it's not just one guy. There's tons. Dude.
Well, I'm just in general. I'm just giving.
I don't know. I mean,
one guy, because I mean he's got to prove fraud. He's got to prove fraud first. But he's got to prove that IRS that he didn't make that money, and then the IRS is going to have to investigate, and then DoorDash has to prove that it was him, or for example, because somebody has to pay taxes on that.
Well, and we know that even if it's not completely public, some of that will get shoved on us too as taxpayers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely. I mean, that's part of the problem here, is that when we talk about this, I've said this many times, I have no problem with the migrants. I mean, I don't like all the illegal crossings and stuff, but I understand some of them don't even know what's going on. They've been used by the cartel. I know a lot are abusing the system. So I don't feel too much pity for that, because a lot of us here pay rent. We pay insurance. We are here legally. We pay taxes. I mean, it's a lot different if you don't have to pay your taxes because they're going to John Doe.
Oh, I wish I didn't have to pay taxes. That'd be great.
I mean, think about it though. If you had an illegal DoorDash account, it changes your
Right.
how you game in that, because you're like, I'm not paying taxes and I don't care.
Well, that's what I was saying is like the for example, if somebody used your identity and they did DoorDash, and now at the end of the year you get a 1099 for it. Well, according to DoorDash terms of service, you're allowed to hire other people to work for you. So that's what DoorDash is going to say immediately to the IRS. They'd be like, hey, our terms of service says he can hire whoever he wants as long as they pass the same qualifications as a dasher. And so now you got to prove that, one, you didn't work the platform, and two, you didn't hire anybody to work for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's for a regular, average Joe, that's pretty easy. Be like, well, here's all my bank account statements. I didn't take a single dime.
Yeah.
Right.
But then, it gets into the point of, but did you hire somebody?
Right. But you still have to go through that method.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big inconvenience to your life. And then you got to worry about, well, if they got my account stuff to start a DoorDash account, what else is on my stuff that I'm not aware of?
Well, and I also wanted to, because I know you and I know we talked about this, that you could get accounts for about $100, but there are accounts for $100, but I think that those might be like, I was going to say criminal, but they're all criminal. But those are like really shady. But then like there's ones that like Luis, Delivery TV, and I were talking about, because he's actually been inside of the hornet's nest. He actually he went and undercover saw how the cartel operates things, and he actually gave me numbers and stuff, like how much it costs per week, how they pay you. You have to go to them because you don't have a bank account. It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's a nightmare. But they give you a car, they give you an account, they give you a phone, everything's given to you, and then you go to them at the end of the week and they just pay you something. So there's no, like, we always know, like, as drivers, okay, well, I probably made this when it's all said and done. These guys have no idea. They pull into a lot and are like, I'm either going to be shot or paid $40. So, but then it goes back
terrible, actually.
I know.
That's terrible.
And I guess I'm not saying that's all of them. That's just the ones that use the cartel way. But there's other people doing other ways too. But I mean, just to put a couple questions out there, there's only like 4 questions so far, but the three senators that started this said that they're going to have, before May 1st, they're going to have 25 questions, and they need all of them answered by all of the platforms by May 5th, like documented, legal, everything.
Right.
And the first questions that we have here, I mean, they're already starting off like not too easy. Like, what steps are you taking to increase security on your application and ensure that account holders are the only individuals delivering food through your services? Another one, like, what are the consequences for an account holder who sells access to their account? How many account holders have you suspended for selling access to their account? Have you received any reports from consumers regarding this growing problem? If so, how many? These are all, I can tell by this already, these first 4 of what's going to be another 21, they already know. Like when they say how many account holders have been suspended for selling access to their account, to me, that tells me that they already have a list of people that they've already caught for doing it. They want to know how many were suspended. On the next one, have you received any reports from customers regarding this growing problem? If so, how many? That means they've received a ton. And they want to see how many they're going to fess up to. It's not like they're doing it's called a probe, but I feel like it's not probing. I feel like they already know.
See, here's a couple, or at least one problem I see with this is how they're wording it, because they're saying, what are the consequences for an account holder who sells access to their account? Well, there's none, because it's in our terms of service for some of these apps that we're allowed to do that. Yeah. As long as the person we rent the account to or employ, it's basically, it's not that we're selling access to an account, we're employing people to work for us. And DoorDash terms of service allows it. I know that 100% fact.
Yep.
So it's not that I'm selling access to it, is I'm employing somebody. So that's kind of sketchy to me right there. First off, they need to redo the terms of service and even get rid of that portion of the terms of service, Like, I mean, to me, if you pass all the qualifications to be a dasher, there's no other reason to use somebody else's account. Zero reason.
Right.
You know, the only thing I do like about it is they probably need to reword it, because like me and the wife, we go out together, we dash together sometimes. I drive, she runs. You know, she's a qualified dasher. She has her own account too.
I know other couples who do this too.
Right.
So.
You know, so that's one thing I've always liked about the terms of service, and that aspect of it is if they ever come back and say anything, I'm like, well, she's a qualified dasher. She does have her own account already as well. So I still want to be able to do that. Like, I still want to be able to dash as a couple. So I don't want to get rid of that part of it, but I definitely think that they need to just
maybe
take
they
out
need to make it
renting.
like a couple's account then.
Well, no, not a couple's account. They need to,
but some
they just need to take out the part that you can rent or employ other people. I don't think that they say rent. I think they say employ. You know, as long as they pass the same qualifications that DoorDash requires. I think they need to get rid of that completely, because if they pass the qualifications, they should just already have their own account. Period.
Right.
You know, but then they need to keep in there. They need to keep in the terms of service that, yes, we're allowed to have people ride with us and actually help us, as long as they have an active Dasher account.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because then that satisfies both needs. One, if you're caught, guess what? Now you're deactivated. You can never come back. You know, if you employ someone else or you sell or rent out your account. But two, the couples that do dash together can still dash together.
Yeah, as long as not everybody's using that as the excuse when it's like, that wasn't the dasher that said, and it's like, oh yeah, that's my wife.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's what every illegal would claim.
Here's what I did, and DoorDash allowed me to do this too, because we would get that all the time when me and the wife, like if I would run food under her account, they'd be like, oh, you don't look like a Donna, or, you know, she'd run mine. They'd be like, oh, you don't look like a Gary. So I went in there and I changed it to my first initial.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now it says G and hers says D. And so it could be a Gina or it could be a David. They don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a good solution either, though.
Well, no, I'm just saying that was allowed by DoorDash. So that's what we did. Instead of always having to, you know, tell DoorDash, oh, you know, yes, it was the wrong dasher, but it's a qualified dasher. Here's her account number for DoorDash. Mm-hmm. You know, it solved that issue, you know, or maybe allow you to link accounts together or something, so that way people can still dash together. Because to me, dashing with a partner is way better than dashing by yourself. It's not as boring. It doesn't feel like a job. You're having fun together, things of that nature. I do strongly believe, though, that there does need to be some security, because I run into people all the time, and you can tell when they're not legal to work here. You know, you can tell, you know, and so, like,
I mean, I'm going to use Spark after talking to Luis. Even Luis hits for those of you that don't know him, you can check out Delivery TV on YouTube. He has great content, but it's all to the Spanish community. And so when I asked him, you know, we talked about DoorDash and Spark specifically. Spark is a disaster, from what he told me.
Oh yeah,
like Spark is a straight up, like we were talking about, like mafia. Spark is a mafia run situation now.
Well, have you ever seen those?
Migrants and but it's a whole situation with including some of the Spark handlers.
Have you seen that guy in Texas? That guy in Texas that uses his drone in Walmart parking lot. Yeah. Have you seen those? Like, yeah. Dude, it's clear as day. Here's what they do for the people listening: is one driver pulls in, he picks up the order, he pulls out of that parking spot, goes to a normal parking spot, drops off the car, gets in another car, goes back and loads another order. Somebody else comes
and they
picks up
phones.
that car. Yeah, the one I watched, they were leaving the phones in the car. So the phones went with the car. And so they was just swapping cars.
Yeah, it's even Luis.
It looked like a drug operation. System. Yeah.
He was like, this, I don't even see how he was like, with DoorDash, they need to fix it. With Spark, he's like, I don't think they can.
Oh, I think they can. Definitely, I think
I
they
mean,
can.
I think he was saying it in terms of without a complete overhaul. Like, dude, even like, because he felt like even Walmart on some levels in on this. You know, he's like, dude, what the hell, man?
I've said this forever, though. Like, companies don't really care who delivers it. They don't until a city or state or some lawmaker gets involved. They don't care because at the end of the day, they're there to make a profit. If you deliver it or somebody else delivers it, they don't care. Same reason why they don't combat bots.
So this is a question for you then, because this confused me a lot. So Luis showed me video, like where you're talking about from the drone. He showed me video from on the ground because he's down there, and you know, I think it's that he kind of can almost blend in a bit.
As I say, you can probably blend in a little bit better.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk here. Luis is a good friend of mine, but I think that's part of it, and he does like to do this investigative type stuff. But he was video. There were fist fights over orders. Like there's like now like associated gangs. So he was showing me how like 3 people run this group and 3 people run this group. And the 3 people who run the group stand by the doors.
Just making sure it's somebody to,
yeah, like you're not with my gang, you're with his gang. Like almost like, dude, they're just asking. Like, I mean, he showed me video that's pretty damn close up where somebody they're yelling at each other and then somebody clocks somebody. But he also told me something that really had me concerned, and I kind of understood why maybe this would be the case, but I was a little blown away, was that if like he has video literally of Spark drivers pulling in, getting into an argument with I don't know what you call it, the person who brings out the Spark order. Do they have a name or a title?
Loader, I'm guessing.
The loader. Okay, so the loader can remove you from the okay. So if the loader removes you, they can reassign that right then and there.
They can.
Okay, so he was saying, why aren't these loaders are probably making $500 cash a day illegally to work for one gang or another?
I should say I assume they can. I've heard they can.
He said
I have not experienced it myself.
Right. He was saying they could be, and it made sense because they need to be because it's on the fly. If they unassign it needs to be given to somebody that's there right now.
Right.
So the point was, okay, well, if they can unassign and then assign it to whoever they want, wouldn't they be probably making $500 or $1,000 a day under the table?
Well, I wouldn't know about a day. I'd say
I'm just pointing out, like
maybe.
My point is like they're not making just Walmart pay.
Right.
Like they're definitely part of a criminal organization if they're doing that. Now, I don't know how many of them are, and I'm not trying to point the finger at people, but to be honest, like that's pretty scary, dude. I mean, like, why wouldn't it just be reassigned not through the loader?
Well, and it's not even just a loader. Like Spark is notorious for botting.
Yeah.
Like it's probably got one of the biggest bot systems out there.
Right.
You know, the security to log in and grab orders. Walmart does not have that huge security blanket. And that's probably what these people are wanting to know too, is how are you going to stop a lot of this activity?
Yeah.
You know, they want to know, hey, more protocols. And I know Spark came out recently and they're like, oh, we're going to do driver's license verifications and things like that when you pick up and whatnot. But I mean, do you think a loader that's getting paid side money is going to care?
No. But yeah, that's its own whole situation. I have 3 more things here, but we're going to do 2 because tomorrow Mike Harubi and I are talking about, and you guys are going to hear me now. Like, you know that I always keep it 100% above the board. I was into the portable benefits when they first were getting launched because it almost made it look like a matching 401k. Mike and I had a very lengthy discussion yesterday, and he's just he understands everything independent contractor, but he's just finding out parts of some very big problems. And he said, I need to warn you about portable benefits. I'm like, I was telling you about these before. He's like, okay, well, portable benefits should be called portable deficits, and we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Oh, that's going to be a good one then.
So, because I mean, dude, honestly, he broke it down for me and he's like, listen, let me explain some things from the past before gig apps. And he took me through some situations of like, he's like, and again, you know, yes, it's apparent to me now, but it wasn't that clear that, okay, well, like he was saying, like now unions, he's like, this is the union model before the W-2. And we're going to get into that because he has a very big fear of the states that have put those in place. Like Utah already put it in place, and so did Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania, now it's law now. They have portable benefits. They just haven't launched them yet quite. But I mean, that he was like, once a state launches that, forget it. The gig economy's done in that state.
Well, and other states will probably follow.
Well, the other states seem to be going for other weird legislation and stuff. And I was thinking, when it was supposed to, the original Utah one ended up being night and day different to what it is now, because it's like it started with this one thing that actually sounded like a cool idea kind of thing. Now it's not just that one thing and 7 others. It's like 7 others, and they dropped the one thing that they sold the drivers on. It's like, yeah, I'm doing this for that matching 401k. And they're like, that's gone.
Yeah, that's gone, buddy. That's gone.
Yeah, the unions demanded we remove that. So anyway, I'll kind of bring up that.
We're going to skip the Seattle one.
Yeah, because the Seattle one is going to tie into that a bit. But I do want to talk about, I know, because especially with you, I want to talk about this one, because this one is this Amazon grocery. I mean, all these have been around for a while, but like, like what is up with this? I mean, it looks pretty, and I also can't tell, are they talking about another $9.99 or $99 a year, or is this with Prime? You get Instacart Plus, or I'm sorry, Amazon's Delivery Plus.
Hold on, you posted it. Now I got to log into it to get access to it.
All right.
They won't let me bring up the story without logging in. So let me use my junk email here.
Because at the same time, while he's
okay, so go ahead while I'm pulling up. Explain what it is.
At the same time, Instacart is launching this same kind of program, but it's not nearly as good. So basically, even if it's not Prime, I don't even know if that is the price of Prime anymore. To be honest, it might have even gone up. But for $9.99 a month or for $99 a year, as long as your orders are over $35, you can get as many unlimited deliveries as you want from Whole Foods, other partners, and now local groceries too. In-store prices. I mean, all the things we want from everything. And Instacart, even though they kind of have a matching thing in this article, if you go to the bottom, it says that they can still take a 5 to 15% or 10 to 20% commission, and like, so it's still got these like wormholes, but like their stock has been falling now again, big time. Like, I mean, like since this
I think that reading this, the Amazon subscription is completely different from the Prime, the Amazon delivery. I mean, that'd be great if it worked that way.
I figured as much, because I honestly believe I think my Prime went up to
130.
I was going to say 150 or something. I can't remember.
I don't know. I keep paying for it because I know I need it.
Well, me too. But
at some point, I'm going to look down and see a charge for $4.99 Amazon. I'm like, what did I buy? And now I'm going to look. It's going to be my yearly amount.
I mean, I don't know. I'm
1 hour. Here's the kicker though. 1 hour delivery windows at no extra cost.
Yes.
Nobody does that right now. Yeah. Nobody. Walmart, if you want 2 hour delivery, it's $10. Instacart, I'm not sure how fast they get to you, and I'm not sure if it's within an hour, but I guess
it's not. They don't guarantee.
Yeah.
Because first of all, if I make an order and I don't put a tip on it, it might sit there for hours.
Well, Amazon has a step up on this though for the 1 hour delivery, because if you've never done Amazon delivery, if you've never been a driver through their Flex app or Flex service, they already pre-schedule drivers whether they have orders or not. So they have drivers sitting at Amazon, like grocery, like Whole Foods and things like that. They have them sitting there whether they have orders or not. In case an order comes in, they quickly send it out the door. They have their own employees through Whole Foods that do the shopping. They package it up, and then the driver comes in, scans everything, takes it out.
Yeah.
It's really quick.
I mean, I just know that I know that Amazon never really got the legs, like with just the Whole Foods thing. It never really.
Well, Whole Foods is only in certain markets. It's a health food store.
Yeah.
It's higher priced, and they're busy. Don't get me wrong. They're busy all the time.
Okay.
They are. I had one in Oklahoma City.
By adding like my local Kroger's and groceries, this is going to be a problem.
This will be a problem, I believe, for Instacart for sure, because
for anybody doing groceries.
Like I did Whole Foods when they first opened up in Oklahoma City, and you could schedule 2-hour blocks. And I mean, I stayed busy after the first initial year. Every time I had a block, I had orders every single time. And it wasn't like, oh, here, take 2 packages. No, here is 60 bags. Go deliver them. Here's 7 stops, 8 stops. Yep. Like I was busy in that 2 hours. Now I don't have one down here in Florida anymore. The closest one down to me is in Orlando. So it won't affect me here. Instacart, I think Instacart will still, unless Amazon branches out to like, my local Publix or something like that, Amazon or Instacart's still going to dominate the markets that don't have all the retail stores that Amazon does not partner with.
And the other issue that I see here too is the timing couldn't be more perfect, because I'm sick of hearing this term. It is true. People are suffering tip fatigue. I mean, I'm
suffering tip fatigue. What are you talking about?
I know, but you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, people are like, it's the only power that people have on the apps anymore. And yet us drivers get very mad about it. But at the same time, I guess the other power is you could just not use the apps. But for the people who are gonna anyway, the only power they have is to remove a tip.
Right. Did somebody sent me an article? I don't know if it was you or somebody else, or I might have seen it on Facebook. One restaurant was asking for 40% tip. Like, they got the little things at the table, the little kiosks that you use to pay for. Their default options on there was 25, 35, 40, and then other. That was the default tipping on there. But if you paid at the cashier at the register, it had the default of 15, 20, 25 or whatever. It's just a kiosk on the table. But it's like, in what world are you going to tip 40% on your food? And don't get me wrong, I don't know why we go away from that 20% tipping. You've always 20% for great service, 20% for great service. Yep. But then people are like, well, if you spend $30, 20% $6, and people are like, oh, that's $6.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If you have 10 tables in that hour and every one of them tips you $6, you made $60 an hour.
I think people are thinking more like, again, everybody remember, you're an independent contractor. You're a driver. So you're going to have to be driving your car. You're going to spend gas money. Like if I'm a server at a restaurant, I'm in the restaurant. I'm not spending any money.
Yeah. You're spending your time is what you're spending. And you're getting exercise. Let's be honest. You're really getting exercise because you're running back and forth working, but yeah, but when tipping culture again, and I actually made a joke. I actually made a joke the other day to one of my users. I said, I think I'm going to put a tip line in my apps. It won't do anything. Like even if you put in a tip, it's not going to do anything. But my apps could go viral because of that, because I added a tip line, even if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that for April Fool's next year, I think.
Okay, before we move on to this last one, because this one Gary and I have talked about many times. I jumped right past it, and I wanted to make sure that I did this because this is a perfect chance to explain Gary's apps and why a lot of you know that his apps are great for filtering and stuff. But I've always said this to Gary, and Gary's always responded the same thing. They're mostly for safety, but I think that I meant to put this right after we were talking about migrants and that kind of situation, because I think that right now that can help you huge to set your thresholds and just not have to see all the bullshit.
Yeah, you can definitely filter,
that way. Filter I'm not saying it's going to make your day a hell of a lot better in terms of, it's not going to create better offers, but at least you won't have to see all the crap. But on top of that, safety too, because I see people multi-apping in their cars that I'm pretty sure have never been multi-apping till recently, and they're driving and texting, and I mean, like, it's crazy, dude. It's not safe. It's not.
Well,
safe.
it's never been safe to do gig work ever. Like we've been doing this since 2015, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back then, we said it. You know, it was unsafe to touch our phones while driving. We have a lot of information to process while we're driving. You know, if I take
flash at you too.
Yeah, it used to flash you, blind you if you was driving at night. But like this is one of my biggest things I tell people, and I actually show them. I have a screen recording from an Uber trip request, right? Mm-hmm. 6 seconds. And somebody that's new, they were like, well, why do I need your app? And I bring it up and I show it to them. And then, you know, after I show it to them, I say, okay, tell me the per mile rate on that. And they're like, what? I'm like, tell me the per mile rate. I was like, all the information was on the screen for you. You got the price, you got the distance, you got the time. I was like, tell me, you know, the per mile rate, the per hour rate, you know, and they're like, it paid $12. I'm like, okay, how far was it going? 6 seconds is not a lot of time to process an order. It's really not. Add in traffic, you know, any type of traffic. I don't care if you're on the highway, you're on the side street, add in any factor other than that. 6 seconds is not a lot of time to process everything that you need to process to decide if you're going to be profitable. At least with, you know, Maximo or driver's utility helper, you can go in and I don't even use the unprofitable ones anymore, Steve. I actually use the profitable ones because what you don't want to do is want.
What do you mean?
I'm getting that. You never want to miss an opportunity that is profitable.
No.
And my apps will allow you to automatically accept the profitable trips. So you go in there, you set your predetermined filters. For example, we'll use Maximo with Uber. You go in there and say, hey, if the per mile is more than $1 per mile and I can make more than $20 an hour, accept the trip for me. So now when that trip request comes in, it meets all those filters and it's going to accept it for you. And then if you have any other apps running, it's going to shut those off and then take you back to Uber. And this is all while you're driving. So you don't even have to take your focus off the road. All you have to do is drive.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I say getting rid of unprofitable trips, that's great. In this day and age, this economy, what you need is profitable trips. And that's what my apps really help you do. They help you get the profitable trips that show up. It's not gonna get you any more offers. But
no, but it also can stop you from, if like you're, one thing I'm thinking, if you like some of the crap offers that come through, if like you go out for a couple hours and it's so bad, you might start making bad decisions. Like, fine, I'll just take this. I'll take the $1 offer. I don't care.
And see, that's where
this will keep you from that. This will just keep it hidden and say, no, let's not get you off track here.
I've always been against, and you know me, Steve, I've always been against saying that my apps will make you more money. I've always been against that ever since 2015. I've always been against that. But I have drivers that come to me, they say, hey, you know, I'm making more money with your apps. And it's not because my apps make you more money. It's because when you have like you said, you have that mindset, you have a threshold. I want to make $20 an hour. I want to make $1 a mile. But then, you know, you sit for a little bit and then you realize, oh, you know, the last 4 offers have been terrible. I've been sitting for 10 minutes. And then Uber sends you a 50 cents a mile trip. You're like, well, I'm just sitting here, so let me take it. Right. You know,
or I haven't taken one in a while. I know this is horrible, but I'm just going to take it.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Dude, that's when your mind is playing tricks on you. So at least because I would argue, dude, don't move your car. Stay where you are too. And don't take the stupid offer. You know,
I would too. I always tell drivers all the time, the biggest thing for any type of gig worker is your per mile amount. Yeah. That is your biggest thing, because the miles on your car matter. Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, at the end of the day, your per hour rate matters, your, you know, total payout matters, you know, to some degree. But if you run your car into the ground, now you have to go buy another car that's more debt. Mm-hmm. You know, but if you take smart decisions with per mile rates, then your car's going to last longer. You're going to get more out of your car. I mean, if you do, say you do 25,000 miles a year, and this, we're going to do this because most part-time people probably don't do 25,000 miles a year. But if you get $2 a mile, you made $50,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're doing this part-time, well,
it's 69 cents.
No. I'm saying just pay wise, pay wise.
Yeah.
If you get $2 a mile,
right,
out of the pay, and you do 25,000 miles that year, you made 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not everybody can average $2 a mile, especially with rideshare. But if you just look at that, if you're doing 50 cents a mile or 75 cents a mile, and you do 25,000 miles, you didn't even make $25,000.
Right.
So that's where my apps really come in. There's so many features to them that it'll help you make profitable decision choices, and it'll do that for you. It'll also help you with ease of mind of driving. You don't have to, decline trips. You don't have to switch between the apps. So you're a lot safer for starters. You don't have to worry about wrecking your car. And then you're just going to overall have less headache and make more money.
Yeah. I mean, I fully agree. So, I mean, I'll hit on the point that you said, like, your apps are not going to make, they don't out of thin air create better offers.
No, they do not. They do not.
However, they can make you stick to your guns that you went out with when you left the house that day and said, I need to make this much. So even if you don't get the total you want, at least you're not taking bum orders to try and get to that total that will throw out all of your accounting.
Here's a good example. I have one user. She sends me screenshots all the time. And she's always doing other stuff when she's doing gig work. She's a stay-at-home mom, but she's always, cleaning the house or doing laundry or something like that. But she lives close enough to the restaurants to have her apps on. And so she runs the driver's utility helper app. And she goes, I set it on the counter. I set my auto accept parameters, and I set my auto decline parameters. And whenever I hear the da-dung, she knows that if she has a profitable order, go get in her car with it and go do the order. She goes, does the order, and comes back. But she sends me screenshots all the time. She goes, hey, thanks a lot. I just made $40 off this order. All thanks to your app,
Right. Whereas she's not hearing a ding every
decline. No.
With her baby and laundry, and it's like she doesn't have to hear anything until it's something worth hearing.
And she don't have to worry about it at all until and actually Giggin, you know who Giggin is. You met him in Denver. Right. He uses my Flex Alert app. Loves that app. And he does the same thing. He's part-time, so he don't have time to babysit the Amazon app. Right. So whenever a profitable order comes up that he wants to take, that app tells him it's ready. Right. He's like, oh, okay, great. Now I got me a block. I know I'm making this extra money for the day. I'm good.
Yeah. And I think that's why I really wanted to make sure to hit on that, because I don't want people, because there's a lot, we know this, there's a lot of apps out there that do a lot of features, but also have you thinking that they're going to make you more money, and that should not be the pitch.
No, you will never make more money with a utility app. I'll tell you that right now. I don't care what company says you will. I will tell you right now, you will not make more money. They do not create more offers for you. And
the companies aren't like, oh, you're using that? Great. Yeah, we'll send you the good orders now.
Yeah. They're not like that at all, And so my biggest thing that I love to stress is my apps are made for your convenience and your safety. That's it. That's what I really care about, is drivers being safer. If I can help you avoid a wreck, great. If I can help you make a little bit of more money because you stuck to your guns, great. Yeah.
But so where did they find them?
Oh, Gary'sApps.com. We rebranded that, last year? I need to actually redo the website on it to say Gary'sApps.com. But yeah.
So when you guys get there, you'll see, you'll see wars.
It'll say Middleton Technologies. Yeah. Gary'sApps.com is actually, it's forwarded to Middleton Technologies, which is the parent company, of course. But yeah, you'll see Maximo there, which is for Uber, Lyft, Grubhub. If you're in Australia, New Zealand, it has the Ola, Diddy, and all them other apps. You got the driver's utility helper, which is for DoorDash. That works in every country. You got Flex Alert for the Amazon Flex drivers. It works in the US, Canada, and I'm actually working with a user right now in the UK. So it'll be shortly over in the UK. And then
I think you left Uber Eats off Maximo too.
Oh yeah, Uber Eats is on Maximo. Yeah,
Okay.
Well, I say Uber because Uber to me is Uber. It's Uber.
Right. I just wanted to make
Eats,
sure because there might be an Uber
Yeah.
Eats driver going,
Yeah.
"Oh, he's just talking about rideshare." No.
No. Food delivery too.
Yeah.
Flex Alert, of course, that's for the Amazon people. I think I just said that. Gig Wars, that's a new app. Compete with other drivers, get involved in a community.
Great. I was going to compare that
motivation.
to what you said about not wanting to driving with your wife.
Yeah.
Like it's something to do while you're driving.
Right. Well, that's why I say you connect to a community. The Gig Wars app, we have a Discord too. So you can go in there, you can chat live, voice to voice with other drivers. If you want to be on YouTube, you can talk to all of the people on YouTube as well. If you want to do that, we do allow people up on the panel all the time, but the Discord also connects to YouTube. So the two communities connect all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I do got another app on there. A lot of people keep asking me, well, when's this one? It's called the Yak app. Basically that's just telling on people that don't tip. That's what that app is for.
Which is basically what y'all were doing on Google Maps anyway to begin with.
Yeah. Google Maps started removing everybody's no tip.
Like this guy sucks, dude. That should not be on Google Maps.
Yeah. So Google went through. They started removing everybody that marked people as non-tippers and things like that. So I was like, well, I'm going to create an app. Now, the Yak app will be more than just marking people as non-tippers. You will be able to review people that you deliver to, but you're also going to be able to put in personal notes and things of that nature as well. So, you get to, like, I go to the same neighborhoods all the time. And so the gate codes are needed because they're all gated communities. Sometimes people forget to put them in, but if I can go in there, I can set my own notes. It's a private note. Only I can see it. It's no different than grabbing a notebook and writing it down. But that way I can quickly reference it for any other delivery I go to that neighborhood for as well.
So that's it, guys. Check out Gary'sApps.com. One last story here, because we've talked about autonomous so many times. So we'll just try and do it a little quickly too, because I love this story that this story should have been out a long time ago like this. And it came out like wimpy kind of, but Tesla's robotaxi plans pressure rideshare stocks now. And last week and this week, they've been nailed. Like this, I guess. And here's my opinion. I don't know yours exactly at the time, Gary, but right now I don't think anybody's close to real robotaxi rides. However, I absolutely see Tesla getting there way before a lot of companies.
I think if anybody does robotaxis, and I'm a Elon fan, by the way, I just am. I think it will be Tesla. I think if they open up into the rideshare space, I have no doubt that they will be one. I think they'll get there way better than Waymo does.
And that was going to be my point. Everybody looks to Waymo. They're the leader. And then Cruise and these other ones that have been kicked out of areas and they have drivers in the car. I was in Austin, and I don't even think you know this, Gary, but I saw like seven. Yeah,
you told me.
I saw like seven, but I got out of the car and ran up to one. Like David and Jimmy were driving and we were going out to barbecue, and I got out of the car and I ran up to it and I was trying to videotape it, and there was a damn driver in it. But when I got back to the car, because it started making noise and flashing as I approached it, because it was at the stoplight. And so when I got back to the car, those guys are laughing their asses off, and they're like, dude, there was like the don't walk signal going off on the LiDAR, and like it was going red and beeping as you got closer. It was like showing like a guy crossing the road or something. Like the feet moving and everything as I approached it, and kind of flashing red, almost like it was showing the driver behind the vehicle, like somebody's crossing in front. Don't try to pass me. The light turned green. Like I'm not just stopped. There's somebody in front of me, but I was actually coming up from the side and trying to attack it. Because I was at least gonna like go in there and like kind of pound on the window and be like, hey, but then I saw a driver and I didn't want to scare her. She already like kind of looked at me, looked scared, and looked forward. And
why are you always being mean to robots, man?
I just don't like these things, man. And I saw them everywhere there. It was crazy. Like again, I've seen videos, and I took one in Vegas that broke while I was in it. But like, you don't see them everywhere. They're everywhere.
See, this story, though, it says that, what did it say? It says Uber and Lyft stocks are down.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not down by much, though. I mean,
no, but
in a month or two,
they took a big day hit. And again, it leads me to believe like how much of, like Uber and Lyft are a dispatch company. That's all they are, dude.
That's what they're supposed to be.
We're not going to be in flying cars tomorrow. We're not going to be in robotaxis.
Well, Uber gave up their autonomous division.
Yeah,
they sold it off
like 5 times.
Yeah, they sold it off again.
And then rebought it and then sold it. Then rebought. My point is, I feel like every time there's a need, they pick it up. Maybe this won't be the case anymore, but they would pick it up at a time when they needed to show investors, no, we're a tech company, not a dispatch company.
Right.
And then they'd sell it all. Like VTOL, autonomous, and then they'd be like, look at what we're going to be doing. And then it's like, okay, just sell it all now that we've got money.
I actually think the future of rideshare, and I hate to say this because I like drivers, I think eventually it will be robotaxis.
Yeah, but eventually being not
20, 40 years from now, but I'm just saying eventually.
Yeah.
I think in our lifetime, Steve, we will see where we have majority of robotaxis. We're just advancing as, human race. That's what it's going to do. We're going to have more jobs taken over by robots, which is okay as long as it benefited the right people. That's the problem I have with all these robots taking jobs and like that, or taking over jobs. I wouldn't say taking jobs, but we add more and more autonomous into workplaces, but then the people that are in those workplaces don't benefit. And then everybody wants to say, oh, they're mooching now because they got laid off. Well, I mean, that's got to trickle down. If you want a full autonomous society ever, then things got to become free.
Or people have to become extinct.
Yeah, or people got to become extinct. But I mean, like, what's that movie that we see? WALL-E, for example. You've seen WALL-E.
Yeah, of course.
You got the big people. They're in the spacecraft. Everybody's rolling around. Doing
they don't
nothing.
ever get out of the chair.
Yeah, they don't ever get out of the chair and everything like that, which is perfectly fine as long as everything's free. Now, imagine if none of those people had money. They had no way to pay for anything on that ship.
Right.
They would all starve to death. So eventually autonomy, even though it takes over, has to benefit the society.
Yeah. But I guess one last comparison to make before we sign out here is that, look, in California, they raised the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 recently. Okay, well, they instantly cut the staffs down to half, and
with
all
kiosk.
Like there was one, now there's 3 or 4 restaurants that are 100% autonomous, no people inside at all. But even the ones where they're like, yeah, all restaurants are going to be $20 an hour for you guys, they laid off people, and it wasn't like, oh, we can't afford to have them, they need to have them. But they brought in, even like McDonald's has brought in some autonomous tools and things that can cut down on 1 person or 2. So it's like a slow rollout, and people thought that we're getting a raise. No, you're not. You're getting extinct.
Well, I mean, like I have one McDonald's here, and they have, it's funny because you walk in, they got 3 kiosks set up, right? And then they got this little tiny register at the front there for the people that just refuse to use the kiosk. But nobody mans the register. Yeah. Nobody mans it all. So you have to stand at the counter and be like, excuse me, if you actually want somebody to take your order.
It's one thing when they roll out self-checkout at grocery store a decade or plus ago,
right,
kind of thing. But it's another thing when you're talking about eliminating people's opportunity to work.
Well, I'll say this: fast food itself is taking a deep dive. They're outpricing their market.
Right.
You used to be able to go to McDonald's, feed a family of 4 for $20-$30. Mm-hmm. Now you go there, feeding 2 people is $40.
Yeah.
So
like a meal there is for one is like 15
$15.
Can get up near $15.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're doing like the value meal, which is like, I think each item on that's like $3 now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna start ordering kids meals when I need to.
That's what Donna does. If we go to McDonald's, she gets like a Happy Meal, chicken nugget Happy Meal. It's cheap,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
but I think that part of that's been too because of the price of groceries. I think the fast foods just abused the hell out of that. Like, well, look at how much it costs to go to the grocery store, man. We can go way up in price.
But see, I think it's actually cheaper for me to go to the grocery store now than it is to eat out.
Oh, it is.
But
it's not cheap to go to the grocery store.
Wait a minute, it's not cheap. How you drive there just fine?
I'm talking about, like, for me, dude, the grocery store has gone up dramatically.
Really? See, I don't think so, because like I can get a week's worth. Now it is just, well, I mean, you're just saying you're just you and your son.
Yeah, but he's 6 feet now and
eats a lot.
It's a lot, dude.
But like it's just me and the wife, and I can probably do $150 a week on groceries.
Yeah,
honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I find myself bargain shopping a lot more too.
Well, I've always bargain shopped,
but more than ever. I mean, like I'm totally like, if it's
not
on sale,
Now I will say, here's the thing though, I don't buy steaks very often because when you start adding on like steaks and things like that, that jacks up your cost a lot. Right. If you're doing any kind of specialty items or health foods or what's that health food stuff that they got, the organic, all that jacks up the price. Oh yeah. So I mean, I'm pretty basic when it comes to shopping. I don't need all the fancy stuff. I don't even have to have all the name brand stuff. I'm fine with great value. Used it for years. Yeah, me too. I'm just it's just there's no way for me to not go in and pay more. But oh no, every grocery store, like if I go shopping, it's at least $150 easily if I go grocery shopping. So, and whenever you only make minimum wage, that could hurt. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how minimum wage only does it. I don't. I mean, I guess maybe if you work at McDonald's, well, and then even then, like if you live in California and you make the $20 an hour, what does that even do, man? Because again, you got to throw in cost of living. It's you can't live on that. Well, I mean, you can't live in San Francisco or LA or anything. I don't even know where you can live though. California is pricey, man. Huh? I mean, even I get emails from people in Vacaville and stuff, which is like in the middle of the state on Highway 5, in the middle of nowhere. And they're like, costs more here than New York City now. Oh, I don't know. New York City's pretty expensive too. I don't know how anybody lives there. Like, no, I don't get that at all. But I've never understood how people live there. Like way before, like for decades. But it's always been pricey. Like almost any major city in California or New York, they've always been pricey. I've never understood how people live there unless you're really rich. I mean, like I see people, you got a little 1-bedroom, 300 square foot apartment or whatever it is. You're paying $1,500 a month. And this was years ago, but that to me, that's pricey. That's a mortgage payment in most other states. So, but even mortgage payments are going up now. So it's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, life's just gotten ridiculous. Well, guys, that's a wrap for the week, and that's 4 years. So next week I'll be in my 5th year. Next week. That's the wrap on 4 years. So thank you for joining me, Gary, and make sure to check out garysapps.com. And until next week, be safe, earn smart, and be good to each other. Peace out. Later. She was just a baby.